Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning into my podcast, Xena Life as a Dominatrix. This is episode 67. This will be published on Tuesday, October 8th, 2024. Before I begin discussing today's topic, I just want to note that on all of my podcast episodes, you will see a link that states support the show today. And when you click on the link, it leads right to my Venmo page. And thank you all very much for tuning in, subscribing, tipping, supporting this show. All right, today's topic, mental illness. I just want to note that if you know or if you are needing any type of emotional support, I suggest you call 988. There is nothing wrong with seeking therapy. There's no need to feel any shame. And speaking to someone and opening up actually feels good. So this particular topic was a request on Facebook discussing mental illness. I'm not a licensed psychiatrist or a psychologist, so I cannot provide clinical recommendations, nor do I prescribe medications. I'm a dominatrix. And I've been told by many that I would make a great counselor because I'm a good listener. And actually, I do take that as a compliment. So I came across this article that I read in The Guardian online. The title was, "Why I Ditched My Therapist to Hire a Dominatrix Instead." I'm not suggesting to ditch your therapist by any means, but it was an interesting article. It states, "My dominatrix life coach isn't afraid to hurt my feelings. She's brutally honest and has no time for my excuses." So my opinion in regards to mental health. Mental health is something that is very important to take care of. A lot of self-care, taking time for yourself, putting yourself first, getting the help that you need, and not turning into any substances to ease the pain temporarily. Substances meaning drugs or alcohol. However, if your therapist prescribes an antidepressant, learn about the effects, the side effects, if it'll actually work for you. My experience with mental health. One of my sessions, I could remember, I want to say it was like in 2002. I remember this because I was in total shock and I didn't know what to do. Basically, there was a gentleman on the cross. I put him on the cross. I was flogging him. I was whipping him. And then he started to panic. And then he became quiet. And then he was hyperventilating. And I asked if everything was all right. And then he continued to breathe heavily and he wouldn't respond to my question. And then finally he said, "Please take me down. Please take me down." He was panicking how he was saying this, his demeanor. And I said, "What is wrong? Would you like any water?" And he just said, "I just got to go home. I got to go home. I got to go home. I got to get to my son." Something like that from what I could remember. And then he quickly put on his shirt and pants and his boxers were already on. And then he just stormed out immediately. He was having a full-on meltdown. And I thought, what the hell just happened? So this was my first encounter in a session, a panic attack with somebody else panicking. And basically his mind just couldn't let go and his worries got to him. And I just let him go out the door. And he full on panic attack, full on had an anxiety attack. And I thought, wow, I just let him go. I wasn't going to keep somebody there tied up if they wanted to get let go. And I don't believe I've ever seen him again. And I remembered this because I was in total shock. And this was beginning of, like, I started in this lifestyle as a dominatrix in 2001. So this was a year after I began. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to let him go. Usually my sessions back then and present were all positive experiences, but that one was the first encounter of somebody else having an anxiety attack. And another experience with mental health. I helped get someone out of a situation, and this is very personal to address because this person is a personal friend of mine, and I'm not going to name names, everything is confidential, but I talked this person out of doing something that they would forever regret. This was a worst case scenario, and I had to remain calm the entire time. And thankfully, this person is okay, and thank God. And I thought, okay, I did my good deed for the day. But when this person reached out to me, I thought, wow, okay, I could do this. I could help this person. This person is in another state. I'm there to talk to this person. I wish I was with this person right now, but we're just going to have this phone conversation, and I'm going to talk this person out of this bad mental state that they were going through. And it was like a downward spiral. And taking deep breaths, telling yourself everything's going to be okay. And I was saying all kinds of things, and thankfully this person was okay. And that's the first, I had no idea that conversation would lead to that this person was going through this type of trauma and this type of downward spiral, and I was very glad to assist this person. And regarding the BDSM scene, if someone is into ball busting, you might think, that's nuts, no pun intended. I personally don't think it's nuts if you're into ball busting. That's just what you're into. And if you're into being, let's just say, a human pony, others might think, why? That's weird. Well, that's your kink. That's what you're into. And there's no need to kink shame, no need to judge. People are into what they're into. And this Reddit article that I came across, the subject line was, people who are into the BDSM lifestyle have serious mental issues and they are not psychologically healthy. Well, I disagree with this. I think that people into the lifestyle know exactly what they want. If they are consenting to a fetish with an individual, if they are practicing safe, sane, and consensual play, then there's nothing wrong with that. Personally, I don't think that BDSM play is a sign of mental illness, but some might disagree. Another article I read, psychological characteristics of BDSM practitioners, it's generally thought that the practice of BDSM is some form associated with psychopathology. However, several more recent studies suggest a relative good psychological health of BDSM practitioners result mostly suggested favorable psychological characteristics of BDSM practitioners. And BDSM practitioners were less neurotic, more extroverted, more open to new experiences, less rejection, sensitive, had higher subjective well-being, yet were less agreeable. We conclude that BDSM may be thought of as a recreational leisure rather than the expression of psychopathological processes. And it's an unfortunate common misconception that individuals who like BDSM, fetishes, and kink are mentally ill. This is negative nonsense, in my opinion, and I think it's okay to be into different kinks as long as everyone involved is a consenting adult. People that explore the wonderful world of BDSM, well, because it's sexy, it's fun, it's liberating, it's a form of self-exploration, getting to try different things in the bedroom with your partner, role-playing, and just having a good time. There was a person a long time ago, I can't remember who, but this woman, I asked her why she wanted to have receive proper training from me to become a dominatrix. And I asked her, I was flat out honest with her. I asked her, this was the first question: why do you want to be a dominatrix? And her first initial response was, because I hate men. And I think this was either in person or an email or a phone call. I think this was a phone call. And I think from what I remember, I just hung up. And that response is totally unhealthy. It's an unhealthy reason why to be a dominatrix. And I never spoke with this person again. I didn't give her the time of day. I refused to have a conversation with this person. And I was in total disbelief by the response, actually. And yeah, I didn't know who it was. I know it was a woman, and like, why would they say something like that? And that's not a reason why to become a dominatrix. And there was another person, this was over 20 years ago. He was a photographer who wanted to work with me. We met discussing our upcoming shoot at a cafe. I'm unsure why he asked this particular question. I guess he was curious. So he flat out said, "Are you a dominatrix because you were abused as a child?" And at the time I thought, wow, this guy has some balls on him to think that. And of course, that's not the reason why I became a dominatrix. And I had to school him. I refused to work with him because of this question. I thought it was disrespectful. I never spoke with him again. I refused to work with him. And I thought, wow, that's what you think about me? Wow, that's a shame. And years later, I remembered that incident because I was thinking, okay, I was disciplined as a child, but I was not abused. I hated the belt, but that's how my dad disciplined me. The belt happened on rare occasions, and I don't have daddy issues. I get along with my parents, and never ever assume that someone was abused, which is why they are a dominant individual, or never assume someone is abused, that's why they enjoy receiving pain. And I don't think it's healthy to play with someone who states, "Oh, I hate men. That's why I would like to be a dominatrix." No, that's not the reason why you should be a dominatrix. Or don't play with someone who hates others. That's not healthy, in my opinion. BDSM and kink can improve mental wellness. BDSM is not just for trauma healing. It is accessible for anyone who wants to engage in this type of play. BDSM helps someone's sense of well-being. It can help with improving your confidence, the release of any sexual shame, and build self-esteem. This lifestyle is liberating. This lifestyle is fun. It's a great way to come closer with your partner, your significant other, your husband, your wife, your slave, your mistress, as long as you practice safe, sane, and consensual play. And BDSM, of course, it's joyful, it's healing, it's euphoric. And personally, I think it's healthy to engage in this type of play. And yes, it does spice up your relationship. And in a past podcast episodes, I discussed spicing up your sex life in one of the past episodes. It's a good listen as well if you'd like to go back and listen to it. And also another question I received regarding to mental health. What can you do to avoid triggering feelings of past trauma? Sometimes when you have a session, he stated, you never know the person, if the person can snap or freak out, uh, or if it could cause any type of past trauma. And I thought that should be addressed. Let me address it. Just realize that the past trauma is all in the past. You cannot change the past. Playing with someone who respects you and respects your safe words is so important, and playing with someone who knows what they are doing is important, of course. And my advice, I know this is difficult, but just let go of the past. Realize that you are living in the present moment. You can't change what happened to you in the past. Continue to move forward. And sometimes you might have a past memory that might pop up, and just realize that's the past. Leave it in the past where it belongs. Another question regarding mental health from this individual as well. Have you had a session with someone who went off during a certain type of play in a session? Okay, so what I could remember, this particular session, this was quite a while ago. I was whipping this individual. He enjoyed being spanked, being whipped, being flogged, being caned. He really enjoyed being a masochist, receiving the pain, looking at the marks on his bare ass. And I played with this person a few times, and this was in Chicago. And this one incident during the session, I used the single tail whip, and I've used it on this person in the past, but this moment it triggered this person. So what I could remember was while I was using the single tail, with 2 or 3 strikes of the single tail striking his bare ass, it triggered this individual, and they began to cry. And then I took this person off of the St. Andrew cross, and I had them have a seat on the chair, and they didn't call out their safe word. But I felt that I had to have a talk with this person. I stated, "Is everything okay?" And then the tears just started streaming down their face. And I hugged this person. So this is also aftercare after a session, but this was during the session, but I decided to hug this person. And I asked, what is wrong? And he stated that the whip felt like how his mom would punish him as when he was a child, and it brought back that memory of the whip. I think she punished him also. I'm trying to remember. I don't think she had a whip, but I think a belt as well. And he was talking about his mother who had passed away, and he was confused why that memory of his mother popped up in his head during the session. And this memory traumatized him as a child by having his mother whip him with a belt. And I asked the person if they would like to continue the session, and this person stated, yes, I'd like to have another breather, another moment to myself, and have some water. And I respected that, and I kept saying, it's going to be okay. You could cry. You could let it out. It's okay to cry. You could talk to me about anything. And we'll skip the whip. We'll skip the single tail whip for now on. And when you're ready, then I'm just going to bend you over my lap instead and spank you with my bare hands instead. And within quite a few minutes, because we were talking about it, and he wanted to bring it up about his past, about his mother and how she disciplined him and with the belt, and it really traumatized him. And And then when he was done talking, he said, "Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to let go." And um, yeah, so I bent the person over and I gave him a nice over the knee spanking and feeling his warm bottom and caressing his bottom and keep reassuring, "Hey, everything's going to be okay. You're okay. You're in good hands." And what I also remember was I wiped off his tears with a napkin and kept reassuring, "Hey, you're okay. Everything's okay. I'm not your mother. I'm your dominatrix. And you're in good hands. This is the present moment. What happened to you was in the past. And I'm sorry that happened to you in the past." And yeah, and it turned out to be a good session. And it was, you know, bringing back his memory. He, I kept saying, "Just let it go, let it go." And it's hard to let go of something like that, of the past. I know it's hard, and you think about the past sometimes, but it's hard. And just my advice, just focus on the present moment, really. And my advice, take care of your mental health. You come first. Call the 988 hotline if you'd like to speak with somebody for any type of support. They're there to help you. And it's a free hotline to use. I believe, hopefully it is 24/7. They are available. And it's a good hotline. And I recommend it. So, all right, this wraps up episode 67. I hope you all enjoyed this little 22-minute listen. And yeah, just take care of yourself. Take care of your physical health, your mental health. Take care of you. And focus on the present moment. All right. Thank you all very much for tuning in, and have a great day.